Good day, flight simmers. We're going to try a flight today with the Cirrus SR22 from Daytona Beach to Sanford Orlando International Airport, and we are going to see how well the Garmin system works in this aircraft. It worked fine in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, but now I have the 40th edition. It's 2022, 23 now, and let's just see how this will work. It worked fine before, fully developed flight plans using the world map without any issue, and could fly using autopilot navigation system. So let's go to Daytona Beach, and we'll fly from Daytona Beach. So select that as our departure, and then we'll go down here to Sanford, which is north of Orlando, popular airport for people going to this area to fly into, rather than down here south of Orlando, which is a lot longer drive to get up to New Smyrna Beach. So we'll set that as our arrival. We're going to just do a short flight up there. So right now we've created a direct route between the airports, but we're going to click here, and rather than visual flight rules, we're going to go instrument flight rules, low altitude. And I'm going to select runway 27 right, because it's an ILS capability runway. So when we hit that, we get some waypoints created for us and a flight plan. You can see the flight plan coming over Port Orange here and flying down and turning. So that's what we should see on our map screen with the Garmin system in this plane, because that's what you used to see before. Let's take a look at our nav log. So there's our waypoint: cruise, descent. This is our altitudes here. So we would fly to Smyrna for a waypoint, Vosphos, and UXFIM, and Utimi. And then we'd be at 1,600 feet here, 2,000 there. So I'm going to set the altitude for 2,000. See what I've turned off air traffic control. ATC, so because it interferes with trying to do a tutorial and talk, because there's a lot of traffic. So this is live weather and live time on May the 2nd, 2023. So I'll hit fly. And the system does seem to load fairly quickly. I think it's a little faster than it was the older version. Golden Gate Bridge there. So some of the planes work better than others, the Garmin system in them, for creating flight plans and following the flight plans using the autopilot. Here we are at Daytona Beach. Nicely rendered. It's a really nice airport. And there's our plane, the Cirrus SR22, which is a very nice plane to fly. It's pretty easy to take off and land. And it's nicely rendered in Microsoft, as is the airport here. So I'm going to hit ready to fly now, because we've rolled out onto the runway. And here we are. First thing we're going to do is take a look at, by pressing Control 1, this primary screen on the Garmin. So right off the bat, this is on LOC1. It really should be on GPS. So right off the bat, that's not a good sign. So I'm going to change that, and also this suspend is on here, indicating really that it can't find its first waypoint, I would say, because we don't have the waypoints that we saw when we hit the nav log. We don't see them on this screen. We should see them, and we should see a magenta path that can follow right into runway 27 here in Sanford. and here we are at Daytona. So there's something wrong here. Normally on the other aircraft you'll see everything looking okay. And to get this to GPS, you just click on there once. You've got Block 2, and now we've got GPS. But it seems to be pointing in the wrong direction, because we really need to fly over here, pick that up, not fly this way. West, that's indicating northerly direction, which would be up here. Yeah, north. No, this would be north here. This is west. Okay, so I'm going to take this off and see what happens. Now it's flipped around, and now it's flying in a westerly direction. Okay, which still doesn't look right. Alrighty, we got a little pitot off here. There's a pitot switch right there. If you want to turn that on, you can. And you'll get rid of that. That's more like for cold weather, and it's not cold here today. It's very warm, as you can see, 30 Celsius. So we can turn it off again. There's the strobe lights. We can turn those on. There's a pitot. I can turn that off again. So that's going to show up there. I just wanted to show you where that was coming from. Now, Control 2 will bring up the map screen, which does not look right. So we need, there's a waypoint right there. And that's, you know, one of the last waypoints. There's another one right here before you get to runway 27 right. Alright, so there's a heading bug and nav. Right here is our nav frequencies, and it's sitting right here on V2 right now. If I click with the right mouse button on that, see it moved up to here, and the frequency for that runway, I'll show you how to find that right here. You just go to tools, you type in Kilo Sierra Foxtrot Bravo, which is Sanford, and you look at runway 27 here. You can see it's 110.15 megahertz, so write that down. Let's go back here and look. So 110.15 is actually active right here. So if I hit this swap button, it goes here, and now there's your active frequency. So let's just hit that back again. Okay. If you want to change this, you just use these to scroll. We'll change the smaller numbers, and the larger numbers can be changed like that. Alright, next thing I want to show you is there's not a lot to look at to fly this plane. It's fairly easy to fly. Here's our flight management keyboard here. I'm going to click on N1 there, so I'll get a little beep coming off when we pick up the frequency for the runway. So here's autopilot, here's nav, here's heading, here's approach, here's flight director, here's vertical speed, up or down. You can lock your altitude if you want, or that will automatically do it once you reach your set altitude. So I'm just going to set the altitude at, let's go to this button here, altitude select. You can see it scrolling up here. So we're going to set that to, I think 2400 is what the nav logs it. So we'll set it to 2400. There's your barometric pressure. If I press B on the keyboard, it will adjust that to the correct barometric pressure. Alright, I think we're ready to go. Right down here is your parking brake. I'm going to take that off and make sure my throttle is on the lowest setting possible on my joystick. So I'm going to use a keyboard, a mouse, and a Logitech Extreme 3D Pro, very inexpensive joystick to do this flight. So the startup has been done for us. this is the checklist you can use. Click on that, and if you're doing a cold start at the ramp, you can walk through it, and you can auto complete it, etc. But it's all been done for us, so we're actually ready to fly now. All right, so I'm gonna just look out the front screen here, windscreen, and I'm also going to go outside and show you the aircraft. So it's very sensitive with the yoke. It'll swerve left or right, so you don't want to mess with it too much. Any quick movements, just very gradual. Also, you don't really need flaps to take off with this aircraft. It'll lift off when it gets to about 80, 90 knots. So I'm going to give it full throttle. Away we go. So you can see the speed going up here. So I'm going to pull back gradually. And the plane lifted off at around 90 knots. So we're in the air, flying straight down the runway and climbing. So what I'm going to do is go inside the aircraft, press Control 3, so I can see this screen here, and I'm going to hit autopilot.
Engaging autopilot.
I'm going to hit nav. I'm going to hit flight director, vertical speed up. Now when I hit scroll with my mouse to move that up, you can see right here we are climbing now, and it's on autopilot. So just scroll over that and you can see it's on. Nav's on. Heading is off. Altitude's off right now, so but the vertical speed is on. Once we get to 2400, it'll shut off on its own. So we should be having a flight plan that we can fly to here, and we don't. So it's not following any proper flight plan. It looks like it's trying to follow this GPS route, which isn't correct. We want to be over here. So it's not working right. What I found, one of the things you can do, at least to get on track, is you can click here on your flight plan, and you can see there's a waypoint here, and here's a waypoint. So using this button, I can scroll. I'm just going to go to screen 1, control 1, and see how I scrolled on that, and I've got this highlighted. I can hit direct to, and I can hit enter, and it's asking me if I want to activate direct to that waypoint, and I'm just going to hit enter, and you can see how now it created a flight plan, a magenta flight plan. So it's going to fly over there. So why it didn't do it initially and create a flight plan around here, I don't know. But that's the only one I could see. These waypoints out here are not showing up on my flight plan. So now the plane is following a flight plan over to that waypoint, and that'll get me to the airport. So that is one way around this problem. And this was on suspend, and it's now OBS, and it's now saying GPS is flying GPS. Autopilot, and altitude is 2400. Once it gets to this waypoint, I'm hoping it's going to pick up the localizer. because we've got this set and activated. And I can hear her beeping right now. I'm going to check the barometric pressure again. And make sure I'm at the right altitude. So I'm anxious to see what happens when we get over here. We'll see if we can hit the approach button and whether it will actually pick up the glide slope using nav and autopilot. So we've leveled off. I'm going to go down to 2,000 now. You'll see this right here. The small button will go in hundreds. And I'm going to hit vertical speed down. Get down to 2,000 now. Because we're supposed to be at 2,000 for this waypoint here. Alright, let's take a look outside, see what it looks like. Yeah, the plane's getting buffeted a bit by the wind, but it seems to be flying okay. And our speed, we're clipping along pretty good here. You just don't want to get into the red. You'll get a kind of an alarm warning that you're into overspeed. I'm going to cut it back a little bit. I've got the speed up because I want to try and not make this too long. But anyway, it's beautiful the way it's rendered. Florida down below looking good, looking very realistic. The plane looks super. And it is a fun plane to fly. You can see there's the tail number I put on it. Yeah, it's a beauty, this little plane. Landing gear, of course, doesn't come up on it. But it brakes really well once you get it on the runway. I'm just going to use my trigger on my joystick to do the braking. Everything's set up. I've got my flaps on my joystick set up as well. So inside the aircraft again. You can see there's the mixture. There's your throttle. There's your flaps if you want to set your flaps. You can just click on that. And I'm just going to use I'll show you, I'll just use a button on my joystick. And you can see it went up and down. Alright, let's take a look inside. And just go back up here. Okay, you can see we're getting pretty close here. Now you can zoom in. I'm going to go Control 2 to bring up that screen. So you can zoom in and zoom out. You can see it's got a little curve here. So it really should swing around there and go after this waypoint. So we'd have to see if this switches over. If that doesn't switch from this waypoint to Utimmy, then it's not following the flight plan, even though everything is set up correctly for it to do that. You can probably hear that little beeping, so that just means that we're picking up the frequency off the runway that we have set. So I'm just going to shut that off. We don't have to listen to it. We know we've picked it up, so. We have 5 nautical miles to go to get to this waypoint. Now, it's not telling us how many minutes it's going to take us on this particular Garmin. So we've got our altitude gauge here and our speed gauge. And this map, you can hit this button and turn it on or off if you want. You don't want to have it on there. This will take you to different airports. You can click to the nearest airport and activate that if you want. I think I showed you our lights here. That's our nav lights, strobe light, and our landing lights. Here we have batteries, alternator, and then our Avionics master switch. Now the heading bug, if we hit heading here, we can activate it, and instead of following the nav, the autopilot will follow whatever heading we set it to. Now that just flicked over. I think you saw that just happen right there. So that means the aircraft is turning towards the airport. So just go outside and have a look. Flying over a lake here. So I'm going to see if it'll switch to localizer, and we can try the approach button and see if it'll pick up the glide slope. Okay, so it picked up the localizer. So that's that frequency. You can see it when it's green there. So it's actually flying us right into the airport, which is good. So this plane, there's the runway up here. This plane is easy to land, just don't want it going too fast, that's all. So I'm going to put an approach on just to see what happens. I'm going to put some flaps down for landing. I won't put them down just yet. But I am going to hit the approach button and show you how you do that. So right here, it's saying off. And here's something interesting. It's lit up, but it's still saying it's off. But if that's lit up, it means it's on. The nav went off when I did that. So it's still on the localizer. Now this is a little bug. Now if I click this, it says it's on, but the light's off. So it's obviously there's a little glitch here. So I'm going to hit that and get that lit up. Now let's just take a look here. So it's still fine. It's not saying glide slope or anything. So what I'm probably going to have to do is, if it doesn't start descending on its own, I'm going to have to take it off autopilot. Oh, okay. So that button said off, but this plane is descending. So it is picking up a glide slope. Oh, this came up there, glide slope. Okay? So it's going to come right in. So we want to keep our speed down. We're going too fast. This thing needs to land at a, in the white zone here down. So I'm cutting the throttle right back on this. But the plane is continuing to descend, so it's going okay. We've got to get our speed down. Once we get close to the runway and we've actually descended enough, it should slow down. But right now that's okay for approach. As we get closer, I'm just going to cut back on the speed. Now I'm going to put the flaps down now using the joystick here. Watch right here. Okay. So our speed is starting to decrease. Well, Let's get a look out here and see how we're doing. All's well so far. So we're getting our speed down now to 105. I've got it cut back pretty good on my throttle on the joystick. So right around where it's at now is good for landing. Just don't get it into the red down here. Yeah, that'll stall speed. So try and hold it around, 90, 85 to 90 knots. And that'll be a decent speed. And so this thing's descending very well on the glide slope. It's still locked into the runway. It's lined up pretty good. It's a little off right here. So as I get close, I'm just going to take it off of autopilot
500.
and just land it manually, because sometimes the glide slope will bring it in a little hard. Let's just go inside the aircraft and have a look. Okay. Coming in nice. We should be seeing 2 red and 2 white lights right here. And right now we've got all white, which means we're a little bit high. So what I'm going to do right now is go outside. I'm going to take it off autopilot and start descending. Yeah, because it looked like it was coming in a little high there. You can see the speed's picked up now because I'm descending. But we've got lots of runway, so just take your time. Try and bring it in nice and slow so it doesn't hit too hard. Okay, we're down and braking. Okay, we'll bring up the flaps. Okay, go up here and get off the runway. So I've got these ribbon markers, chevrons here, showing up. So that didn't fly as good as it used to. It didn't follow a nice complete flight plan, but we were able to fly direct to one of our waypoints and then pick up the localizer and the glide slope, which brought us in pretty good. But it wasn't coming down perfect, so we just took it off autopilot, which is what you probably should do anyway most of the time, and just land the aircraft yourself for the practice. So thank you very much for joining me with a tutorial flight on the Cirrus SR22, one of my favorite little planes to fly in Microsoft Flight Simulator. So what they've probably done is given us a parking spot up here. So I'm just going to go up and park. And then that'll end the flight. So here we are at Sanford Airport, and I don't know if we got a little bit of a crew here waiting for us or what. Yeah. Because I didn't go to ground and ask them for a gate or a parking spot, we got that plane in the way there. So this is where they actually want us to go, to this person right here. That plane just happened to be in the way. Yeah, so I'm just going to ignore that, the fact that the plane's there. There we go. They want us to go over a little bit further. Okay. All right, let's go inside, put on our parking brake. All right. And we can turn some stuff off here. And we shut her down. Thank you very much for joining me on the flight. And I hope you got some tips on how to fly this plane, even though the Garmin doesn't seem to be working 100%. Catch you next time.